Oliver Twist by Charles Dickens, adapted by Lisa Malaki, illustrated by Howard McWilliam. Part 3. Chapter 5. A robbery takes place. Oliver learned of their evil ways when he was out strolling about one day.
"See the man over there looking at the books?"
asked the Dodger.
"What I'll steal from him?"
The Dodger and Bass ran toward the man. He was reading and didn't notice the boys, but he felt something strange. When he turned around, he saw Oliver screaming and running away. The man thought Oliver was the pickpocket.
"Stop thief!"
yelled the man. Oliver ran faster. The Dodger and Bass started to run in a different direction. The townspeople started to chase Oliver.
"Stop thief!"
they shouted. A hand from the crowd reached out and grabbed Oliver's shoulder. The hand had sores all over it. The man had purple lips. He knocked Oliver to the ground. The police were called at once. They took Oliver to see a judge. When they were in front of the judge, Oliver fainted. He was frightened.
"The boy is ill,"
said Mr. Brownlow.
"He tries to steal from me, but I don't want to press charges. He's a young sick boy."
Just then, the bookseller came in to see the judge. He knew Oliver was innocent. He had witnessed everything. Oliver was set free. Mr. Brownlow took Oliver home with him. He and his housekeeper, Mrs. Bedwin, nursed Oliver back to health. In the room where he slept, there was a large portrait of a beautiful woman on the wall.
"Mrs. Bedwin, do you think Oliver resembles the woman in that portrait?"
Mr. Brownlow asked.
"Shockingly so, Mr. Brownlow,"
said Mrs. Bedwin. She couldn't stop marveling at how much they looked like each other, but they never spoke of it again since Mr. Brownlow had the portrait removed. Oliver woke up the next day. He had never seen such a fancy place. He was pleased when Mr. Brownlow asked him to stay with him.
"You are a good boy, put in a bad situation,"
said Mr. Brownlow.
"I am interested in your future. I am also curious about your past."
This pleased Oliver.
"You won't send me away?"
he asked.
"Never,"
said Mr. Brownlow.
"But I do hope to learn more about you. Where were you born? How did you end up in this town?"
Just then, a friend of Mr. Brownlow's arrived. It was Mr. Grimwick, a sour man. He always had a scowl on his face and bad thoughts in his heart.
"You will tell me your story shortly,"
said Mr. Brownlow.
"but today I have an errand that I'd like you to do."
He picked up some books.
"I need this," returns to the bookseller, "and new books brought to me."
He gave Oliver a £5 note.
"He won't return,"
said Grimwick.
"His kind never does. He's going to run off with your money."
Brownlow laughed.
"Nonsense. Oliver is a good boy."
He smiled as Oliver made his way out the door and down the path, clutching the £5 note. While Oliver was happy with his new arrangements, Fagin was not.
"Where did he get to?"
Fagin screamed at the Dodger and Bass. Fagin had beaten both boys for allowing Oliver to be taken in front of the judge. One of Fagin's brutal men, Bill Sykes, was angry.
"Oliver is going to turn all of us in. He must be fined before it's too late for us."
Sykes had a plan. He forced Nancy, another member of Fagin's gang, to go to the police station and ask about Oliver. She pretended she was his sister.
"He was taken to a house in Pentonville,"
said an officer. When Nancy told Fagin, he exploded.
He must be found. We must kidnap him.
He thought of an evil plan. Nancy and Sykes watched Brownlow's house. They hid in the bushes and followed Oliver to the bookseller. Right before he went inside, Nancy pounced on him.
Oliver, my long-lost brother, there you are!
She grabbed Oliver as he kicked and screamed. People gathered to see what all the fuss was about.
He joined a band of robbers and broke my mother's heart.
Shouted Nancy.
Come, Oliver, time to come home.
Oliver still kicked and screamed. Then Sykes came upon the scene with his dog.
Oliver, I don't believe it. Go home with your sister now.
Oliver was confused.
I don't know these people. Help me!
No one helped Oliver. Nancy and Sykes managed to carry him away and brought him to Fagin.
Let me go.
Begged Oliver.
This belongs to a man who has been kind to me. He will think I ran away with his money.
It's my money now.
Shouted Fagin as he struck Oliver with a cane. Nancy stepped between the two.
He's suffered enough, Fagin. Leave him alone. You got the boy back. You made him a thief. Surely that's enough. I was younger than Oliver when I started robbing, and I'm still doing it. Leave the boy alone.
Fagin was enraged.
That's enough of you, Nancy. Put that kid to bed and make sure he never wears those fancy clothes again.
As Nancy took Oliver's clothes away, Fagin couldn't help but wonder why Nancy was defending a wretched boy like Oliver Twist. Chapter 6. Shouts Ring Out. One day, Mr. Bumble had to travel to London on business. As he entered a tavern, he came upon a sign that promised a reward for a missing boy. The boy's name was Oliver Twist. The note said that anyone with information about Oliver's past or his present whereabouts would be rewarded with 5 gold coins. What luck, thought Bumble. He copied Mr. Brownlow's address and went to see him at once. When he arrived, Mr. Brownlow and Mr. Grimwick were in the study drinking tea.
What do you know of Oliver Twist?
Asked Mr. Brownlow.
He was born to low and vicious parents,
Said Bumble.
Since his birth, he has displayed nothing but treachery, ingratitude, and malice. He attacked a boy and tries to murder others. He's nothing but a menace, I'm afraid.
Mr. Grimwick looked at Brownlow with a smug smile.
Just as I suspected.
Brownlow ran for Mrs. Bedwin.
That boy is an impostor. Never let me hear his name again.
I don't believe it. He's a gentle soul, a dear.
Said Mrs. Bedwin.
It can't be true.
Mr. Brownlow dismissed Mrs. Bedwin, paid Mr. Bumble, and bid Grimwick a good evening. He went to bed that night with a heavy heart. Fagin was afraid Oliver would run away again, so he threatened him daily with beatings. It wasn't until Fagin went to see Nancy and Sykes about robbing a house that he allowed Oliver out of his tiny room.
That house has all types of things for the taking. It's going to be ours,
said Fagin.
That house is too hard to get into,
said Sykes.
The windows are too small for Nancy to get through.
Then take Oliver,
said Fagin.
He's small and should fit through fine.
Nancy arrived to see Oliver the next night.
Sykes wants to see you.
What does he want me for?
Asked Oliver. Nancy sighed.
I'm afraid he's up to no good. But you have no choice, Oliver. Neither do I.
After Nancy brought Oliver to Sykes, they walked all day long. It wasn't until midnight that they landed in front of a house. One of Fagin's gang members, Toby, was waiting for them.
Lift him up to that window,
said Toby. Oliver's eyes grew wide, for he realized that he was to rob a house.
Have mercy on me. Let me go, and I won't tell anyone.
They ignored Oliver's pleas. Sykes pushed him up to the window and threatened him with a pistol.
When you get inside, go to the front door and unlock it.
With a gun at his back, Oliver did what he was told, but when he let the two men in, he panicked and started to shout. At once, two half-dressed men appeared. There was a struggle and shots rang out. Oliver was wounded. He was bleeding badly as Sykes and Toby carried him out of the house. When they couldn't carry Oliver any farther, they threw him into a ditch to die. Thank you for watching. This is the end of part 3. To be continued in part 4. If you like this story, please like, share, and subscribe. See you then.